So I've been noticing that The Sims 4 is like severely lacking in decent purple swatches. We've got a couple nicer like lavender or more pastel swatches, but most of them, especially the base game ones, are this like horrible magenta color. I think you might know what I'm talking about, and it's just really not good. This has always annoyed me, but right now it's become a serious problem because I'm playing the purple generation of the Not So Berry challenge, and in that challenge, basically each generation is kind of a color theme. And so in this generation, my Sim's got purple hair, she wears all purple clothes, and I kind of want to have an all purple house, but we just do not have the tools to make it how I want it to look, so I've really been struggling. I'm actually building this for my Not So Berry challenge that I mentioned I've been playing, and I've been live streaming that over on my Twitch channel if you want to come by and watch. Of course, I'll link my channel down below. It's just twitch.tv/lilsimsie if you want to pop by. But this house was kind of interesting because I don't normally play in like micro homes with my legacy challenges. The way that I usually play legacies is to live in like one big family house on the same lot and like live there over the entire course of all of my Sims lives for like 10 generations straight. And so usually it's like a multi-generational house. We've got like grandma, we have the grandkids, like everybody's living there. But for this particular generation in the Not So Berry challenge, the rules are kind of specific. Number one, you have to move around a fair bit. You have to live in 3 different worlds with your Sim over the course of their life. But also this Sim's main goal in life is to like really skill build. So you have to do that Renaissance Sim aspiration, which means you need to have like level 8 and 6 skills. You have to max a few skills for this challenge. And so I was kind of thinking it might be useful to move out into a micro home and try and take advantage of like the double skill gain here and like really have my Sim focus on it for a bit. And so I chose to like move out of my big like multi-generational Not So Berry house for like a couple in-game days. And I'm really not exaggerating. I built this entire thing for my Sim to live here for like 3 days in game just for her to like stay at home and work on skills all day. But the beauty of tiny houses and micro homes especially is that you get a lot of perks when you play with them if you have the tiny living pack. So when you live in a house this small, it's only 32 tiles, you get like double skill gain, you have half as many bills, your Sims get double relationship gain, they're like happier all the time, they get mood boosts and stuff. So it's honestly like almost a kind of useful tip to have your Sim move out and like briefly live in a tiny home just as a starting point. I maxed the gourmet cooking skill in like a day. It took me like no time at all. It's almost like too overpowered. Like living in these tiny homes is like almost too good, to the point where I was like, okay, like maybe I should move back to the real house and stop using this skill gain boost because it's like too easy. But I had a lot of fun building this, and even though I only played in it for like a couple days, I feel like it was worth it. So the whole inspiration obviously was that I wanted it to be purple. And the problem is we don't really have a lot of purple to work with, like I had mentioned, especially when it comes to like outdoor wallpapers. There's sort of like a periwinkle colored base game siding that we have. And there's of course like solid painted walls that have some purple swatches, but when it comes to like bricks or stone or siding or anything, there's not really a lot of purple options. When you filter the game by like all purple swatches for wallpaper, it gives you some really weird ones too. There's like the glow in the dark one from Spa Day. Obviously, I don't really want to use that for this house. It classes one of the island living stones as being purple, but it looks gray. It doesn't really look purple to me. So I ended up just using the like plain white island living siding and then using purple windows instead because the wedding pack came with these super cute windows with like little purple shutters. They're definitely like kind of a pinky purple, but we can't be too picky because we don't have a lot of options. So I used those. And then I tried to use a lot of like purpley toned flowers and stuff on the outside as well to like embrace the purple vibes. I would have used a purple roof if we had one, but we don't even have that. Like we really don't have a lot of good purple swatches, which sucks because we have that like metal roof that came with Eco Lifestyle and it's got every color. It has blue, red, yellow. There's even a cute pastel pink. No purple. Why is there no purple? And the other problem that I faced with this was that I was kind of going for like a sort of modern interior on this like little island themed house. So I wanted everything to fit either like the island living sort of style or be like slightly trendy and like kind of hip. But the problem is I might have something that's purple, but it's not really like the right style for the house, or it's like way too expensive. There is like some purple appliances. There's like the nice fancy stove that has the purple trim on it, but the stove is 13,000 simoleons, which is more than I wanted the house to cost, like just in general. I didn't really want to spend half the house budget on a single stove, so I chose not to. If we had like unlimited funds and I was just making this for no reason, maybe I would have used the like really fancy fridge and stove, but considering I wanted to like actually play in this house and and use my Sims real money to buy it. I figured I probably shouldn't spend the entire budget on a kitchen appliance. But anyway, the house is obviously not very big on the inside. It's just a little kitchen, little tiny bathroom, and then a bedroom. It isn't even really a separate bedroom. It's more of like a studio space. I have a bed like out in the main living area. And then I tried to make use of some nice patio areas too. There's a patio on both sides of the house. I have like a chess table on one and a little dining table on the other, because we don't have a dining table inside, obviously. That's kind of a good tip when it comes to building micro homes. You have to make use of outdoor space. Like, see if you can put some things on the rooftop maybe, or like have some extra patios outside, because you don't really have a lot of space inside, and there's a lot of things that you might want to include, especially when you're living here specifically to skill build. I wanted to have like an easel. I wanted that woodworking table. I ended up putting a chess table and a telescope. I had a guitar. I had a computer. Like, I had so many things that I wanted to fit here, and there's just not enough room for that. So I had to put a lot of it outside. I really do like that challenge aspect of building tiny houses though. Like, trying to fit everything in like a very small amount of space is kind of fun for me. That's why I do a lot of tiny home building on my channel. But this one's different because I build so many houses, but I don't actually play in all of them, because obviously if I'm making like 4 builds a week, I just don't have enough Sims to be playing in all of those houses. Unless I start doing this whole like live there for 2 in-game days thing, then I could probably get through all my builds. I could probably stay in all of them that way. If I could give you one piece of advice though, if you think like, oh, living in a tiny home briefly with my Sim might be a fun idea, I must warn you that I did that with my legacy Sim, right? Like, I had the heir move out, keeping in mind that her parents and her siblings still lived in the old house. And I decided to leave on story progression, like the in-game story progression settings, because I thought it would be funny if something happened to them while I was gone. I even like acknowledged this on stream. I was like, guys, I'm leaving this on intentionally. Wouldn't it be hilarious if they like died or, I don't know, retired or something when I was out of the house for 2 in-game days? Okay, so my Sim was gone for like a couple days, only a couple days. And in that time, her parents had 2 babies. I am not exaggerating. They got pregnant, gave birth to one of them, and then got pregnant again in the time that I was gone. And I was only gone for like a couple of days. It must have been like instant. As soon as I left, they decided to have another kid. I did not want this. Like, their oldest kid is a young adult. I'm about to start playing with her as like the new main Sim. I'm trying to like get rid of her siblings so that I can make more space for me to have kids. Meanwhile, my parents decide to have 2 more. So yeah, leaving on that setting was a mistake. I thought it would be funny if maybe they had one. Like, if they had had 1 kid, adopted 1 kid, maybe if they had gotten a dog, like that would have made me laugh. I did not laugh that they had 2 additional babies. I will say though, I did delete one of them. Look, I'm just here to be honest with you. I'm not gonna lie on my YouTube channel. I did delete one of the babies. I kept one of them, but I did delete the other because I didn't need more. They already had 4 kids, okay? They didn't need to have 6. That's too many. I personally cannot handle dealing with that many toddlers again. Like, I already did that with these people. They don't need more of them. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about this happening like once the infant update comes out. Each time I think about this infant update, I'm struggling with how to feel about this, because on one hand, I'm really excited about the thought of having the infant update and like having more gameplay and this cool new life stage. But then I think about how I react to my Sim having like 3 toddlers at a time. Can you imagine having like 2 infants and 2 toddlers? Like, I can't think of a scenario where the infants will be easier to play with than toddlers. Like, they're probably gonna be very difficult and very annoying and like needy because it's a baby. So do we really want this infant update? Are we sure about this? Is it too late to go back on that? I'm so curious about what it's gonna be like. I'm so nervous about when it's gonna come out. Like, I'm like dreading it almost. I'm really excited, but sometimes I think about it and I'm like, oh dear, this is gonna be kind of scary. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that in the comments. Like, are you nervous about caring for your Sims infants? Because I'm nervous about caring for my Sims infants. I'm excited about it, but I also fear it a little. And I think that's reasonable. I think that's a very reasonable reaction. But anyway, I'm kind of putting some finishing touches on the house now. now I'm just adding in some more decor and like some extra tables and stuff. I ended up putting a grill outside. I tried to arrange the house in a way that like every single space was multifunctional. So like my sim can sleep on the bed, but she can also sit on the edge of the bed and watch the TV. She can cook on the island counters, but also use them as like a desk space because we have the computer there. In the end, I'm really happy with the color scheme of this house too. I was very much using that bed from high school years as like the main inspiration for the whole space. It has that really cool like purple and orange like swirl to it almost, which also really perfectly matches the tiny living swatches. We have that like little tiny living dresser that has the purple and orange. So I feel like it came together really, really well, which is lucky considering how much I've been complaining about purple in this game. I've been sat here like ranting about how we're lacking in swatches, and then this one actually kind of worked. We're almost done with the build here though. I'm just going through and like seeing what other last minute decorations I can add and just thinking like where can I fit anything else, you know? That's always the like final touches on a tiny home, is like what other little tiny corners of space do I have that I can fill? What else can I fit in here that'll be useful for me? But now that the build itself is almost done, I want to pop back into the game and show you a tour and like point out some of the things that I liked the most and also found the most useful like functionally, because I really play tested this house. I usually play test my builds, but like with this one, I play tested it for a while. So I know what works and what doesn't in this house. And it's also just easier to like actually see what's going on when you see a tour versus like a, you know, speed build where I'm spinning the camera around constantly like this. The house is on the gallery, by the way, if you want to download it. Well, would you look at that? They've actually given an official time for the live stream now, January 31st at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time for episode 1 of the Behind the Sims series. I'll be there. I don't know what to expect, but I will be there. Well, anyway, this lot is called the Purple Micro Home on the gallery. I know, very adventurous, creative title, and it also uses a ridiculous number of packs. For a house this small, this is absurd. Like, this is actually embarrassing how many packs I use. But listen, I wanted to use everything purple, and so I probably did. I probably used every single purple thing in the entire game. I mean, with this number of packs, I must have, but the thing is, it's like one item per pack. If you click on these, you can see like what item I used by pressing show used item. I used a candle and a plant from backyard stuff. I used a single light from the toddler stuff pack. Like, it's ridiculous. I built this over here on the Tangled Flat lot in Sulani. It's this little 20 by 20 lot in the corner. And here's what the finished build looks like from the outside. I think I am really, really happy with the exterior of this house. I love the landscaping, like the pretty purple flowers and the pretty purple tree. I just think are so cute. I think I wish the windows didn't have like the little iron bar detail on them, but that's okay. We don't have a lot of options. There's really not like any other purple windows. I guess if I wanted to, I could use the ones from Realm of Magic, but that's like a totally different vibe. So I accept these. These will do. I also had this kind of cute metal roof, and I tried to use a pergola as well on one side. I actually sized down the base game one, and it fit really, really well on the side of the house. And then I used it to have like a sliding glass door and a grill and a little table out from. I also hung up some lights in it. I just think that this looks so cute, and it matches perfectly with the plants. Obviously it's the same kind. And then this side has the actual entrance to the house, so your sim will like walk up this little pathway. These are little debug stones. Your sim does walk on top of them just fine. They'll just walk over it like it's nothing. And I placed each of these individually. You can find them their base game. If you type the cheat testing cheats on and then bb.show hidden objects and one more bb.show live edit objects, and then you search debug. I realize there's a lot of steps here, okay, but this is how you access them. If you search debug, you'll see these little garden path stones. There's actually a few variations. We have like these three, the ones that I used. There's also some kind of cute like regular rectangular ones and stuff that you can use. And these can be super useful for like decorative purposes, and they're base game, so everybody has them. But anyway, I used those here and a little nifty knitting mailbox because it was kind of purple. I put a chess table out here and just like a little front door. The back has a couple extra skill building items. I also put a woohoo bush here because I knew that my sim wasn't going to have any other woohoo locations, because I don't think they woohoo in beds when they're scooted against the wall, and they can't woohoo in this university shower because it's not enclosed. So I made sure I had a woohoo spot. And then inside, when you walk through the front door, there's not like a lot going on in here. It is only 32 tiles, but when you first walk in, I made like a little dresser section. So we have like the dresser, jewelry, thermostat just in case, and like a mirror and stuff. This side is more of the bedroom area, so your sim will sleep here. It does sleep two sims comfortably. They will scoot and stuff. It's just, you know, there's not a lot of space to put it off the wall for woohooing or anything. And then they can sit here on the end of the bed and watch the TV. This item is really useful because it's a TV, it's a bookshelf, it's a radio. The tiny living stuff are really, really nice for that purpose. Like, it literally does everything. And then I put a couple other clutter things to make the space seem a bit more lived in, like some clothes on the floor. We've got a freezer bunny guitar because I've been working on the guitar skill. The kitchen is very small, but it functions. We have like a full fridge, stove, everything. A little laptop for more skill building. They can use these counters to both eat and cook and stuff. And then a tiny bathroom, which don't worry, it does work. You can make these 3x1 bathrooms super easily. Specifically with this shower. This is the one from university, and your sim will just walk right over it. So like the whole room is kind of a wet room, and they'll just step on top of it to get to the toilet. So you don't need to worry about it like blocking anything or anything like that. And then I tried to add some clutter that makes the place seem like it's being lived in, like some towel bars and toilet paper rolls and other things like that. But that's the whole house. Again, there's not really a lot to see. It's very small, but it served its purpose very well for me. My sim built so many skills in here. I know a lot of you probably know all about tiny living already, but in case you're not familiar, when you build these tiny home lot types, there's like 3 different tiers of sizes. This micro home one is the smallest, and so it has the most perks. And the list of perks is long. You get less bills, relationship gain doubled, plants grow twice as fast. So if you wanted to get into gardening or like, I don't know, grow a death flower or something, this is super useful. Happy, inspired, and focused buffs last twice as long. Skills increase double the standard rate, and everything is twice as comfortable as it is generally. So if you have like a cheap bed, your sims are more comfy in it than they would be normally. I mean, there's just so much benefit from living in a tiny house, and it's not that hard to do when your sim is like single and doesn't have any kids or like any pets or anything yet. But with that, the build is pretty much done. I've shown you everything. If you liked this, stay tuned because I've got another purple build that I need to make soon. The sim that I built this for has now moved back with her family, and so I've got all of these sims, including a bunch of new younger siblings, and I need to build like a big purple house for them to live in. So wish me luck, and I will post that video soon. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow, okay? Bye, everybody. How many of you are gonna watch that Sims live stream on the 31st? Because I really don't know what to expect. I bet it's just gonna be like casual interviewy type stuff. I don't know if there's gonna be any announcements, but I'm sort of hoping there'll be announcements. We'll see.